Ladies and Germans, how you all doing? This is Con Ulrich.
It's Rangaroo, low.
And folks, today we have Total Tank here on Slutsk. Who do we have, sir?
Left hand side in the blue, we have konosmgr playing as 26th Panzer with a balanced income. Right hand side in the red, we have Stan playing first Pancerna with a balanced income as well.
I think the funniest thing as we're kind of looking at this opening is Stan apparently said that if you're walking to the front, you actually have to walk to the front. Because I don't think I've ever seen this many tanks in an opening.
Yeah, this is
yeah,
really taken like the whole first tank motif to the whole bloody next level, especially considering down south he's giving it away.
yeah, but he's got the Vickers over here too, though. So I mean, like, yes, the Strum Pioneers they'll take a little bit here, and Stan's gonna definitely be suffering. But he's got very early recon, which I think is a great plan. He has an Achilles that is putting fire on the Pack 40 before hopefully it takes out that scout group for him. And he's got a hefty amount now of Cromwells.
Yeah, this is one of those things where he's gonna either make it or he's gonna break it. I mean, the Cromwell is extremely cost effective. He's got the Hurricanes, it's like SD44. Here's a few Panzer IVs in. We're seeing a heavy investment in Pack 40, so he's got to make this work.
He definitely does. But I think he's got the right kind of mix of armor to the northern side to do it. Cromwell's, very much. I think I certainly go and make fun of them on a brisk clip here, but really strong, kind of medium cavalry-ish tanks. They're not Stuarts, of course, but they're really powerful for the cost that they have.
Yeah, they're cheap and they're fast and very good in these openers. I mean, we've seen, I think a few weeks back, of the Czech Armored Division actually doing a pretty good job with just a good Cromwell opener here. He just needs, as we can tell, a little bit more infantry to clear up his current forest position so he can actually continue his advance.
That is true, and yet at the same time, this is probably one of the few opportunities for the Crusader tank to be, well, viable.
Mm-hmm. A bit of close range anti-air.
Yeah, exactly. I guess those little fleshy meat bags anyway. Stepetsy being moved on in, of course, having that nice bit of another rocket plane, devastating another Pack 40. So taking a quick look, so I already kind of trying to check this out. 2 Pack 40s are down. That's 120 points to really not too much gains. P4's on the northern side really getting heavily engaged by these. Ooh, jeez, this is brutal.
Yeah, this is really good trades. It's a very effective use of, concentrated firepower here to not force his tanks to get picked off run by one. And now it's really just at 1 Pack 40 left, and all the anti-tank infantry is dead. He didn't rush up his Cromwells and overextend it in a stupid push by just charging through the forest. He pushed up to where it was reasonable, kept pressing air, and now allowed his infantry and other vehicles to actually clear up the mess in front of him.
Probably the biggest loss he's just taken here is losing that officer. And some would say that's a worthwhile loss here. But losing that kind of buff in this early stage, not great, but look what he's got now. Not a ton of flags, but a ton of territory.
Yeah, he's going to get pretty much a good 3 flags under his control up north, which is nice. I mean, looking down south, it's pretty easy to defend. That's why he just has 3 Vickers machine guns. He can just set up a decent defensive line. It's a lot of open ground. It's not too bad. He probably wants to think about maybe pushing up in the middle. He could either do that from his middle side or going from up north and down south, which I guess will be his next play. Because if you can secure that thin little town along the ridge line, yeah, really gives you a very good defensive position. And we've seen players do that before.
Well, and you can see right now, that's exactly what he's doing. He's got that 3-pack of Cromwells backed up by that Crusader. And when you have that recon plane soaring overhead, that Pack 40, well, this could be number 4 going down to, again, not a whole lot gained.
Yeah, 26th Panzer really getting screwed over just with the lack of anti-air, forcing him to buy the Flagverlin wagon here. Because just being able to spot those anti-tank guns is extremely useful for knowing where to position, or really where not to position your armored vehicles.
Of course, as I say that, though, we do see one peak run squad should be able to take something out with a Panzerfaust.
Mm-hmm.
Separity be moved in behind that little collection, which is very, very good. And M3 Scout Car also, well, quite terrifying. Pack 40 is going to get the first shot. That's going to... doesn't even kill the Crusader.
Oof.
That is awful.
Damn, that's legit just bad luck.
Yeah. Yeah, that is horrible luck. Now with the Scout Car there, that MG42 is, gone to 6 feet under. And that Peak Ren, well, he's just kind of... What does it matter? He's cut off. He can't go anywhere.
Yeah, and we're seeing 2 Panzer IIIs being brought up, which are pretty good tanks, but once again, the problem here is this concentration of firepower. At close range, those Panzer IIIs, even at long range, they're a little bit outnumbered. Up north, he has invested in a defensive recon Panther, which is a good defense play, but he doesn't have enough forces really put up north with what he has here. Konos, that is, because he's just redirected down south to, incidentally, avoid that Panther.
Kind of amusingly, Crusader is being called back to kind of go and just pound the Peak Ren, but the Peak Ren's going to retreat back into the open. However, first Cromwell does go down, and the Scout Car, without, with its gun being jammed, which is kind of a very, very humorous thing for me, we are going to see the Cromwells back off, having suffered their first casualty.
Yeah, and honestly, it's at a pretty good place to call it for his offense. He can just hold the top of the ridgeline and wait for the Panzer IIIs to come around and get the first shot. He's still investing in just armor. Good God, he's got Sturge, Achilles, Sherman leaders being brought up to really solidify that town or hill position. And if he can just get that Achilles into a good spot, heck, even get some 17-pounders along that ridgeline, he's going to be doing good.
He will be eating good in the neighborhood, that is for sure. And again, I just have to restate this. It is so bizarre for me to see a 26th Panzer be outnumbered 2-1 in tanks.
Yeah.
And we're not talking, FT-17s. We're talking legitimate tanks.
Yeah, it's just the Panzer IVs are not going to be enough here.
No, they're not. And the middle is completely been just obliterated. You're going to see a Hurricane coming up north, going after that Recon Panther, which I think is probably one of the few pieces of equipment that I think the Poles need to be kind of nervous about. And, the HE rockets aren't going to do much, but keeping eyes on it, stressing it out, taking away that health, really, really necessary under the circumstances.
Yeah, probably 2 or more rocket runs should be enough to knock out our Panther. He just needs to keep up the bloody pressure.
That's for sure. Looking down south, the Vickers machine guns, 1 has been taken out, 2 have been taken out. And another Hurricane decides that bridge deserves to die. So we're starting to see some weird developments happen, which actually I think this has been a week for it, really, overall. A lot of very, very non-standard map kind of evolutions.
Yeah, really now if Stan can just solidify his southern side a bit, not too much, just enough to really hold the few flags which are on his side of the map, not so much on the town area, he should be pretty good here. At the same time, the problem for Konos is he's pretty much been given the southern side, but terrain-wise, the southern side is not a great area to exploit. There's not really a whole lot you can exploit, and it's a lot of open ground, and it's pretty damn close to the enemy spawn.
It certainly is. We are seeing another Recon Panther apparently finds the heel on that Achilles, blows it to shreds. So the Poles, while they had been devastating things really early on, I think we'd see that 17-pound you see up to the northern side, another one going at that central kind of position. This could be very, very important of what happens in the next 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, it's going to be very key for the Poles to just hold onto that hill. Because that hill just gives him a lot of very good fire angles up north, in the center, as well as down south. And he still has a good amount of forces on the hill. We've seen he's just kind of back and forth here with his armored vehicles. Is the problem right now, if he crashes over the hill, he's going to take a little bit of damage.
He certainly is. Hurricane down south goes and is very, very aggressive. And the P3s, so, one of the things we didn't really quite mention is that the Recon P3s, while they are lighter tanks, they still are worth their weight in whatever precious metal you're talking about.
And all metal is precious for the Germans at this point in the war.
That's true. That's true. Let's see what we got going there. 1311. We're to phase B now. We are starting to see that Flak Vierling in the central south position, be a little more discouraging than what the Poles really want to kind of deal with. But other than that, I think really it's coming to Millhouse pretty much across the board for the Poles.
Yeah, and even if this starts to peter out a bit for Stan, that's not the end of the world. He's also playing balance. They're both playing balance. So he can afford, especially from a time perspective, just to hold and grind from this point on with these territorial gains.
Yeah, I think the biggest concern here is actually having enough PBI to hold any kind of territory that he's got. I didn't realize until just now, he's got 50 squads of infantry and only 10 of them in the first phase. It's not to say that Konos had that many more, but I think he outnumbered them about 2 to 1. So that's still a fairly significant issue to kind of overcome. Thankfully for him, when you play with this rolling thunder over here, you don't really have to worry too much about it.
Yeah, and Kono, if he can just force that infantry grind game, he's 100% going to run it with his division. And I also like now how he's starting to put a little bit more pressure down south here to try to make that breakthrough happen down south. Once again, not the best area to do it, but as we can just see from Stan's positions, he doesn't really have a whole lot here to really defend with, and is actually bringing in some emergency tank reinforcements to try and hold.
That is true, but we also see a 17-pounder in the meantime engaging both the Recon Panther and the P4 right next to him, because apparently those two are going steady. But I'll tell you what is not going steady. They decide that it is time for them to take their little romantic date some other place indeed, even as Hurricane do things like catch infantry out in the open. So, yeah, you're right that they are being more aggressive in that southern position. That says to me, the Poles could even be more aggressive in the northern position. Maybe get to that next tree line. Does it really engage you that much? No, but you can kind of force.
Really for the Poles, like just trying to go from their hill position and then hook down south to hit the side of the town and try to just envelop the town from the north and from their spawn would be their best bet, especially now with all the Germans being trapped here. But this is where it's really going to, I think, make it or break it now, because Konos is actually building up a pretty decent force, and he has good positioning.
He certainly does. He certainly does. I can't help but feel that right now the Germans are kind of like that whole Rorschach thing where it's like, I'm not trapped in here and hurt with you, you're trapped in here with me kind of idea. Of course, as I say that, a P3 goes down courtesy of that Sherman officer. So P3's still able to put some effective fire down, but as of right this instant, just not getting the effect that's desperately, desperately needed.
Yeah, it's just trying to force those nice engagements. He really forces for Konos. At one hand, he needs to play close quarters and force infantry grind, but on the other hand, he needs to play long range and use his long 75mm guns and Jagdpanzers to, get some long range kills. Even then, the Poles do have 17-pounders, which can really put some, not big holes, but some rather deep holes into armor.
One thing I'm surprised we haven't seen thus far is, there we go, was exactly what I was hoping to see, is 81mm stovepipe half-track. So the mortar track, one of the big benefits of being part of the 26th, you have that nice mobile fire support, and when you don't bring that, it makes me feel like you're kind of going into battle with one boot on.
Yeah, we love pro mortar half-track here. They may be expensive as hell, especially in 1v1s, but usually see time and again they very easily get their value.
And we also have seen the standard single Piot kill. So PRT taking out a P3 who just nuked his buddy Stuart, which proves again, as always, that a broken watch is right twice a day. But I think,
now rough ramen.
We're getting a rough ramen? Ooh, there we go. Mortar track trying to find that 17-pounder. We think the rotation of all this armor as, the Recon Panther and his P4 companion are trying to go and really stop everything being moved forward. I think my major concern here is not the Hurricane coming in, although that is moderately dangerous, It's, alright, you kill the first 2 squads as they get brought in. Now what? Because you still have 4 more tanks to worry about.
Yeah, there's still quite a lot of armor on that hill. Panther and Panzer taking those rockets like a champ here. And they're really just seeing this whole grind is just coming down to the hill. It's a uphill, downhill battle. It's like holding the mace.
It certainly does seem that way, doesn't it? And the P4 will start to be engaged? Yes, it will. P4 gets engaged and killed instantly. The Panther, angry at losing its mate, does turn around and starts to prowl backwards, refusing to be hunted. Watch this. The funny thing is that technically, the Panther doesn't have a whole lot to worry about. Yes, you can kind of paint chip him to death, but nothing. There's just a couple of Stuarts, really. Congratulations.
Yeah, he could have probably sit and
tanked it.
Yeah, tanked it, so to speak. I'm guessing he's just worried about a potential Achilles just coming out, or Firefly coming over the hill, while those Stuarts keep him pinned down, so to speak. He's just not, he especially just does not want to risk it, it seems.
That is fair. It's a certain biscuit that's not worth risking it yet. So, 17 pounder, though, not being taken out by those mortars is going to continue to cost Konos' armored kind of, armored lines, which are getting increasingly thin.
Mm-hmm.
Firefly being moved up. Panther does go and engage that Sherman officer. Firefly's engaging and kills him with the first shot. So, wow, that's
yeah. Free self-efficacy is hell of a drug, man.
Yeah, I mean, geez, that's American exceptionalism right there for you. And the Hurricanes now freed from immediate kind of destruction, putting endless firepower in on this town. Not because he needs to take it; he doesn't have to remotely do that at all, but rather because it's there. That's why. This is like
mortal half track goes down too.
For Fromman engaging, not going to do much, but engaging nonetheless. Oh no! Wow! Hey!
Oh, wow!
Not too bad. Okay. All right.
Yeah, not bad at all.
I will say that the anti-air net, such as it was, is gone. Been taken out by those marauding Stuarts, which proves that even the tiniest vehicle can be deadly. And yeah, they retreat right back, which I think is the right call here.
Mm-hmm. No, Stan's done a pretty good job, Ruth, in his last 5 minutes or so, just playing the grind fight. And he's run it. He's out-traded Konos here quite well, and he's starting to really, feel that success as he's starting to make pushes back into this town. He's got a decent little push getting that first flag in the town, and Konos just does not really have a whole lot here to stop him, having to invest in another Panther for long range. Oh, two Panthers. 2 whole Panthers, Khan.
Well, that's good. He's got 2 whole Panthers. He doesn't have too many more than 2 whole Panthers, but he's got them.
Yeah, he's gonna really have to. That's a heavy investment. He doesn't have much infantry or other fire support or recon left to really hold his line once his Panzer Grenadier position gets blapped here by his Polish push. So he needs to keep his Panthers at range and trade efficiently, but Stan, he doesn't need to push. He just needs to play defensively, slowly maneuver his way through the town, and he's in a very good position, is what I'm saying. Yeah. Since he's just traded so well.
Well, because, Konos has been forced to just completely abandon the northern position.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that Stan at that point doesn't actually have to worry about really putting stuff into there. Because why bother? Though he does see this P-Grand MG34 has picked it up. So I wonder, first off, if anyone gets eyes on him. If so, this could be the northern side just disappearing. There's a couple of other easy flags which could be taken. The southern one just to the west of the hill.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit of pressure. There we go. One does flip, and he really just needs to do with that one Panzer Grenadier, because he'd be getting a very nice +2 quite easily if he had a bit of recon.
But hey, like you said, a lot of his stuff's being utilized over here in this town. The M3 scout car with that 12-7 on it, yeah, of course, not exactly the thickest of skins. We're going to see one if I get taken out by this Pigren or the Panzerfaust. But congratulations, you just wasted a very, very valuable piece of equipment on something that has less armor than my car.
Mm-hmm. You know, Khan does drive around a 234/1 as his daily driver.
I do, yeah. The 20 mic is a little hard to refill the ammo, but, you know.
I've been thinking of getting one of them from my local Mercedes dealership, but I'm pretty happy with my ferret armored scout car for now. It's got good mileage.
I will say, I have heard stories of... Verf Raman takes out a 17-pounder, so he's been managed to kill 2 things. I was going to say, I had heard stories about a Prius that someone put a minigun on top of, but the first time they fired it, it just shattered the Prius.
I wonder why.
I've heard stories about this for years. I suppose there's video that's kind of squirting around. Verf fires the last couple of rounds that's got under, and he's aiming for... maybe the Stewart's there.
Yeah.
There's video kind of swirling around the internet of it firing it, and the thing just getting shaken to pieces by all the acoustic kind of backlash. I don't know where it is. I don't know how it is. If anybody knows where to find that, I would love to see it. Please share that. Getting back to more important things here. Stanchikowski, as he's gotten more and more Panther, P4Js being moved in, the Panthers that are down south for Konos. Again, all he's going to really do, I will tank with my Cromwells and kill with my Fireflies. I will tank with my Shermans and kill with my Achilles. You can't kill everything. I have more stuff than you.
And he still just has a very good positioning from that hill, because it allows him to very much pick his fights, because he can just back off from the hill position when he doesn't want to engage. And like you said, he just tanks with the cheap tanks, let the big tanks do the talking.
And up to the northern side, the MG-34 Pigron has gotten too close. He has flown too close to the sun, and Icarus over here is getting burnt by being brave. Sagittaria coming over the front lines. Crusader shouts, "This is my time to shine!" and fires a couple rounds up. Kills.
Oh, wow.
There we go.
Deus Vote.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. The last Panther being brought up to the northern side. Actually, I say the last one. Technically, there's a total of 10 that's possible, which I always kind of forget. But I do not think that's going to be enough to kind of, turn everything around as some, shining flash of glory. I don't think that's going to be the case.
Yeah, I mean, that's one benefit at least of balanced income, is that his phase he can buy a pound for a minute. But now it's really, especially that initial, trade in the town, he lost pretty poorly there. And now, he does get the Firefly.
Mm-hmm.
The terrain really does not favor him anymore, because he's having to really fight uphill. His probably best bet is to try to go directly up the hill, up the road, and then try to secure it that way, rather than kind of going around the right road here, and it's kind of just being stuck in the middle. It's just not. He's just not in a good position. He doesn't have the recon to really spot for him.
Yeah, and you can see right now he's throwing his Panther and 2 P4s with recon optics into a forest that's going to cut their optics. Methinks there could be a better way about this.
Yeah. And a little bit bunched up too. I think a Hurricane would love that target.
Yep, that sounds like you speak the true. Every now and again we are seeing miniature, and I hesitate to call them victories, but miniature moments where the Poles do get pushed back here or there. But it feels like you're trying to hold back the tide with your hands, and oh yeah, by the way, your hands are tied behind your back.
Yeah, and the Poles just have many more tanks to just hold on through. Yes, they're not as high quality, you could say, compared to all the Panthers and such, but they get the job done. There's still 17-pounders, Achilles, Fireflies. There's a good amount of 17-pounder.
Well, I'm wondering where that 17-pounder is going to start to engage. It looked like he was going to fire on somebody, but nothing happened just yet. Another 17-pounder being brought in just to that ridgeline. I just had this vision over here. I don't know about you, but I saw the whole Napoleon trailer, and they're like, yes, it is time. This is barraging the river at Austerlitz. This is what I'm waiting for that 17-pounder to do. I see some effete German captain putting his fingers in his ears, Polish captain putting his fingers in his ears and saying, kill the Hun, and having to start to obliterate heavy tank after heavy tank after heavy tank.
Yeah. And he's starting to do that. It does knock out that one Panther. We've seen another Earth Rammon being brought in, as well as the Famo 88 mil here. But it's just once again, Stan has that really awesome hill position.
Not for nothing, but the Famo to me looks like something you should be playing in World of Tanks. Like, I realized that it actually was a gun carrier, but it just...
I mean, it's literally in War Thunder.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. But I guess my point is just, like, it's something that deserves to be a fever dream.
Mm-hmm. Something that sticks back to 1940 more than anything.
Yes.
Blowing up Char B1s.
Yes. Back when they were like, wait, we can fire at things on the ground with this giant cannon too? 17 pounders in the meantime continues to creep on forwards. Again, I'm waiting for this to to kick off. I'm looking forward to this quite a bit.
Yeah. It's going to be a whole lot of explosions.
Oh yeah, and Sextons. So, the artillery, which up until now has been very, very absent for the Poles, barrage the forest. So, as a 17 pounder starts to engage, that's a kill. And the Sextons kind of encourage them to, well, not be there. And I agree with this. Konos says, you know what, my time has run out. It's time to tap.
Yeah, and a pretty standard 1000 KD, but no, very good player from Stan. Very aggressive, but it wasn't suicide, or it was just very well done.
Yeah, the first 6 minutes, he loses 4 units, and one of them was a scout plane.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is lost for the Germans.
Yeah, and there's a lot of German tanks and Pak 40s getting blapped. It's 4 Pak 40s going down.
Yeah, exactly. This is exactly the point I was going to make. When you look at the 26th Panzer, their entire thing, they had 10. So in the first 6 minutes, he lost 80% of his Pak 40s.
Yeah, not good.
Of Phase A, that is. Like, that is a brutal, brutal loss. Take a look at kills. Cromwell doing pretty well. Cromwell doing very well. The Crusader actually putting a lot of very effective firepower down. The Steward killing a P3 and the STKF-Zeds. The 17 pounder killing two heavier tanks and 2 half-tracks. Maybe not a ton of heroes per se, just kind of carrying the entire division on their back. But still, the Poles, for the most part, all mucking in.
Mm-hmm. And losses here. Panzer doing decent, and that's really it.
Yeah.
No one else is surprising.
But that's what kind of happens, is that first opening, I think, was just so devastating. I would have gotten kicked in the teeth by that. It's really, really hard to kind of find your footing.
Yeah, and especially both sides being balanced, it's not like Konos can just kind of hold and wait till C phase to get that massive point advantage. No, he's going to have to grind it out all the way through, and the Poles have a lot of C phase stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But with that in mind, really, really well done to the Poles and Stan. And Konos, unfortunately, I think that was a very, very quirky opening.
Mm-hmm.
That just kind of cheesed it for the victory. It was really, really well done.
Yeah, good job.
Very much. Any final thoughts there, sir?
No.
Folks, in that case, then that concludes another match with us today. Until next time, I'm Conor Work.
I'm Rangru. Take it easy.